Hi, I'm Anthony Originello, CEO of the Chartered Professionals in Human Resources for BC and Yukon. We represent more than 8,000 members, and as the organization dedicated to advancing the HR profession through education, advocacy, awareness, professional development, as well as our recognized and impactful CPHR designation, we are proud to be a sponsor of this show. We have been the voice of the HR profession since 1942. Learn more about us at cphrbc.ca.
In this episode of Careers That Matter, I'm joined by Dr. Sylvain Charlebois from Dalhousie University. Sylvain, welcome.
Thank you.
You're a professor.
Yes.
And you've got a specialty.
Yes.
But you're an author, you're a talk show host, you're a media consultant. How do you describe your job?
I mean, some people call me a foodie, which I'm not really, because when I think of a foodie, it's someone who actually loves food. I love the economics of food. My passion is about connecting is about connecting dots. Food systems are complicated, so my job is to take complex issues affecting everything about food, flavors, labels, prices, everything that people see, and my job is to explain why they're seeing what they're seeing. So I try to make sure that, so on the one side, my job is to publish an academic journal, which is very boring and nobody reads those articles, but I try to take that world and make it real for everyone else to remind them of the taxes that they pay me to do my job. Most academics just do what they need to do. But my role is to make sure that people know the story behind the data.
So what made you decide to say, okay, here's the data, which people can't read because they don't have a basis of understanding about what that data means.
Yeah.
And say, I'm going to make it come to life for you. And you do that. I mean, you become a brilliant storyteller, but what made you decide to do that?
Well, it's passion, absolutely, I think, but it's the will to make a difference in the world. I think that we live in an amazing country with full of potential. So my job is to make sure that our country reaches that full potential. It never will happen, of course, but my job is to make sure that we reach the next step and so on and so forth. And it's by educating, by informing, op-eds, interviews, chats with you. I mean, and frankly, I enjoy national, international media as much as local community. I've done a lot of community interviews. I love them because they look at things differently. And so I enjoy communicating to the public exactly, what they should be, what should they care about, really?
So what does a normal day look there's no such thing.
No.
Okay, but what does a day, or let's say a week, look like for you as far as the kinds of tasks and responsibilities that you have to make sure that you complete?
Generally, because not one day is the same, but generally it's about the first part of my day is about understanding the world, what happened the day before. Of course, I look at markets, I look at prices, commodities. There's certain reports that I read every single day. And then I start thinking about, okay, what do we need to know? And then that may actually inspire reports that I may decide to work on in the future. It may inspire an op-ed I need to write, which is exactly what happened today on my flight over here. I saw the inflation data. I wrote about it. There's a story. When I saw the inflation data today, there's a story that people needed to know. There's something going on here. And so I created 700 text. It's online right now. And then, of course, it's about dealing with my team, because we have a team at the lab. It's working with all sorts of projects that I'm involved with. So it's
what kinds of projects?
Books.
Yeah.
I'm writing my 10th book right now on food geopolitics with the University of Toronto Press. So that's, of course, it takes a lot of time. We have partners at the lab, actually 4 of them, and all 4 partners are funding certain projects. So I have people working on certain projects. So we do follow-ups, we look at some of the challenges that we're facing when collecting data and things like that. I go to events. I'm in Vancouver right now because I'm speaking as a keynote tomorrow at the BC Food and Beverage Convention. So
James Donaldson, yeah.
James Donaldson, absolutely. And so great guy. I was with him this afternoon, and frankly, I mean, and every time I go on stage, I'm energized because when I go on stage, I want the 400 and 500 people in the room to think differently about their food world after I'm done.
Do you teach? Because you are a professor.
Yes, I do teach mostly graduate courses. So I teach a couple of courses a year. So I don't teach to a whole lot of students. So there's a lot of seminars, one-on-ones, theses. So that's the kind of world that I'm in. So I've been at this for 25 years. So at the beginning, of course, you teach a lot, but now I'm more of established academic. So I tend to kind of teach food policy at Dal mainly.
Wow. So let's go back to where you went to high school.
High school.
Where'd you go?
Well, I'm a Quebecer. I'm from Quebec, and I only learned to speak English when I was 18 or 19. So went to school in Farnham, Quebec. That's Dairyland, Quebec. It's a small town of 5,000. My own mother was mayor of the city, so that tells you how small it was. And played football, played volleyball. I was on the cross-country team. I was very athletic when I was a kid. And moved on and joined RMC as an officer from 87 to 92 in Kingston, Ontario, the Royal Military College.
Wow.
Yeah.
What made you do that? Like, did you have a vision of where you wanted to go, or you just went, nope, that's my first stop?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I have a twin brother. We both were going to university, and my parents didn't have a whole lot of money. And so they couldn't send both to school, so they asked us, they kind of plead us to apply to RMC because RMC is free. So we both applied, but I had better grades than my twin brother, so I got in. He didn't. So I was free, and so I was able to go to school, to go to the university without having my parents pay for my education.
So what did you study when you were there?
Economics, and then. This is the interesting part. It was in 1992, and you're old enough to remember the end of the Mulroney reign and cutbacks and huge deficits. And they were offering a lot of officers a payout to leave, and I took that and became a lobbyist for the food industry for a few years. Went back to school.
In Ontario or?
In Quebec.
In Quebec.
In Quebec, yeah. For the independent retailers of Quebec for a while. And that's when I really started to understand all the connections. Because as a lobbyist, you have to understand who has the power.
Yeah.
Who's moving the needle here beyond the government. And so that's when I learned how things work in the food industry. And I went back to school, started to teach at the master's level. And I was mentored by a good person who believed in me and decided to do my PhD. And that was it. And I did my PhD as I was becoming a father. So we have 4 kids at home.
This is at Dalhousie that you were at school?
No, started my career. So I did my PhD in Sherbrooke. Was teaching part-time while I was doing a PhD at the University of Montreal, University of Ottawa. My first appointment was in Saskatchewan. Yeah, near Regina. Spent 6 or 7 years there, transferred over to the University.
So you brought your family out there?
Yeah.
Three of our
kids were born in Saskatchewan. And then moved to Guelph. I was in Guelph for 7 years. Guelph was fascinating. It's the mecca of food research, and my career. That's when my career really just took off.
Yeah.
And then Dal called, and I've been at Dal for 10 years. And so, but this summer I'm actually moving to Texas You didn't know that.
No.
I was asked, so it's my sabbatical. So for 1 year, I'll be the director of the number one program in the United States, the number 3 program in the world in agribusiness, Texas A&M. So that's a big one. So I'm going there for a year to learn from the big leagues.
That is the big leagues.
Yeah, big leagues.
Holy smokes.
Big football stadium too.
So if you take a look at your career, and you're talking to somebody who 16, 17, 18 years of age, and they go, wow, you look like you've got a really exciting career or job.
Yeah.
I want to be you. What would be, I know it sounds kind of funny, but you go, okay, there are certain characteristics that everybody possesses. And what do you think has been one or two of the most important characteristics that you've learned, because you don't always know that you have them, but you've learned that you possess, that you think have played a role in your success?
Mentorship for sure. Oh yeah, mentorship was a big one. My path was influenced by very strong mentors, some good ones and some not so good ones. Like
who also have a strong influence.
Of course, because for example, when I was a lobbyist, there were a few mentors that weren't necessarily good, and that influenced me to perhaps pursue something else. So I'm grateful one way or the other.
Right.
What I've learned throughout my career is that you can't figure out this is the path I'm going to take at the age of 16, 17. It's like drawing a Picasso. When Picasso actually made his paintings, he didn't know how it was going to look in the end. He had some ideas, some vague ideas, what he wanted to do, how he wanted to work with the paint, with his brushes, with his instruments. And then once he was done, he had a clear vision of what he had. That's kind of how I would approach this. Make sure you have tools with you, knowledge, information, that you have something to work with. But don't be definitive in terms of how your painting should look like even before painting it. Because chances are at the age of 16, 17, you'll end up in a job that doesn't even exist yet. Because things are changing so much because of AI and other things happening. Just keep your options open as much as possible.
Well, thank you for giving us a glimpse into your world and for that little bit of advice or direction. Appreciate you taking the time to do this.
My pleasure.